Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it anywhere and everywhere. You can even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works.
Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today.
Then you can go ahead and distribute your podcast to Spotify and anywhere else podcasts are heard.
Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take the conversation with your fans to the next level, Q&A polls are the best way to get them talking.
With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions.
And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. We've been using Spotify for Podcasters, and we highly recommend you give it a try. Download Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters and get started. All right, welcome back to That's So Fringy podcast. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Rick.
And we are here today with our friend Demon Eraser. He's got an Instagram following that's where we found him at. He's got all kinds of awesome stuff on there, so you guys will have to go check him out. We'll put all of his stuff down below.
That's right. We're going to be talking about all kinds of weird stuff in the Bible, like Nephilim, demons, those type of things. A little bit about deliverance. So just hold on to your hats there, folks.
It's a wild ride. It's a
Might
wild
get a little
ride.
fringy on you, this one. But we wanted to, as always, say, thank you for coming back every week, listening to everything that we did. We did the Q&A, which I thought was awesome, other than the technical difficulties that we had. But in the long term, with the replay and everything, it turned out pretty good. So we're going to probably schedule another one of those maybe next month or something like that, and just continue to work on that process, because we do want to interact with you guys. So we'll get better at it and make it better for you as well, hopefully. So what else do we got? Let's see. Don't forget to...
want to say thank you to everybody for sharing our show and sending it to people, where our followers are getting more and more. And with that comes some censorship on Instagram and YouTube. We've got some dings. We've got some dings against us. But,
well, yeah. We're shadow banned.
That's how you know you're over the target, right?
Yeah, so if you guys could just continue to fight the algorithms, like and subscribe, share, pass it along to your friends if you wouldn't mind, that would be awesome. We just want to get all of this information out to as many people as we can, as we've said so many times before. Also, we don't really talk a lot about money or giving or anything like that, but if you do want to give, or if you have any type of donation that you'd like to send our way, you can always do that in the show notes at the bottom there. So let's see what else. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Don't forget, guys, we have a website that you can go check out. We have a YouTube. We have we're on Instagram mostly. We also have a Telegram channel that'll be linked in the show notes as well. So if you're looking for more content from us, Kristen's usually throwing stuff down on Instagram, and I'm usually throwing stuff down on Telegram. So if you like either of those platforms better than the other, you're still going to get content from us. So anyway, what else you got?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, without further ado, we are going to introduce you to Demon Eraser if you've never met him before. And if you have, well, here he is again. Here we go. All right. We are back, everybody. We hope that you are doing okay out there. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but we have time for some Demon Eraser, I'll tell you that. And he is here with us. Brian, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome, man. Doing great here in California. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, you're living that life in California. We could say differently here in Oregon. It was such a crazy, windy, hailing day. It was nasty.
Yeah, I heard there were some crazy winds. I wonder if it was similar to the ones that were just like the tsunami thing that happened over here recently.
Yeah, that was in Santa Monica area or something like that.
Yeah. It's pretty nuts.
I saw a video. This dude was just running backwards, screaming, and the water was coming at him. I was like, I don't think them screams are going to do you much good, man. Maybe just focus on the running.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we wanted to connect with you, man, and just talk a little bit about some of the things that you're doing on TikTok and Instagram. You're putting out these videos for people to learn more about the things of God, about the Bible, about Nephilim, Rephaim, all of these different things. I feel like this whole topic has just come out of nowhere in the last couple of years. I mean, people have been studying it pretty heavily for a long time, but you know, there are these nerds in the library. We're not talking about it on social media, but have you found that this has just exploded lately?
Absolutely, dude. This is like, I've been the Nephilim guy for many, many years. All my friends and all my church people that knew me were like, dude, Brian's the crazy Nephilim guy.
Right.
Like, and so like, I'd be like, it's Nephilim. It's Nephilim. My friends made some meme of me being that, what's that alien? It's aliens. It was like,
oh,
Nephilim.
yeah.
And I'm just like, this is hilarious. So like, you know, I'm like, but now, dude, it's like everywhere. Like, and I'm like, I've been telling all my people that I've been talking to, they're all coming back to me. They're like, Brian, you're right. They're like, you're right. It is Nephilim. I'm like, I've been saying this for a while, but like, dude, it's like happening in like a real way. That's like more real than I think people are recognizing. And this is fascinating because the Bible, the book of Enoch, I don't know if you guys have looked into it much, but the book of Enoch, the opening line says, this book is not written for this generation, but one which is to come. A remote one living in the days of tribulation. It literally says that this is not supposed to be revealed until the days of tribulation. And we found the Dead Sea Scrolls in the book, the Dead Sea Scrolls found the book of Enoch, pieces of it, 42 fragments of it were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, validating that the book of Enoch was probably supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. And we've just kind of thrown it away, right? It's been like this scrap heap book for a long time, which is, you know, you're not allowed to read those. Those are the Apocrypha or the Pseudepigrapha. They're not, they're not verified by anybody that wears the correct robe. And I'm just like, who is telling me that I can read them and not read them? Like, what are we're doing ourselves a huge disservice by not even reading them, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And it's like, and you know, the thing is, like, when you found the Dead Sea Scrolls and I started looking through the Dead Sea Scrolls, my perspective was drastically like blown away, because it's not just the book of Enoch. There is so many other texts in the Dead Sea Scrolls that talk about giants that will just like give you more details as to what was going on, and that the fallen angels and stuff, that you're just like, this is undeniable. Like, there's so many people that try to deny the concept of Nephilim, hybridization, and these things going on for so long. That you're denying, oh no, it's the sons of Seth. It's the sons of, dude, read the Dead Sea Scrolls. It'll shut your mouth real fast. Go read the Dead Sea Scrolls that verified your Bible, that you're like, the Dead Sea Scrolls verified the Bible. Yeah, go read it. Go read what it actually says. Because you do that, it's going to shut you up. It's going to realize, you're going to be like, whoa, this said a whole lot more to just you know, the book of Enoch. Like, there's like so much more details. And it talks about giants, you know, that the size of a cedar tree, and that they carried swords that were like able to cut down trees in one blow. And you're like, what is this? You're like, what is this? Like, you know, and it adds so much more depth when you read the other text into things that we normally just kind of write off. Like, there's texts like, you know, I don't know about, you know, was it Abraham? No, Rebecca. Who was the one that had the dream? Or no, he didn't have a dream. You know that. He said that my sister is my wife, even though it really was.
Abraham. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Abraham. Yeah. He said, tell them that she's my sister, not my wife, right? And so, but if you read in the Dead Sea Scrolls, there gives you more detail actually about that account. He actually has a dream, and the dream, he says he sees two trees, a palm tree and a cedar tree, and some men come to hew down one of the trees, and he says, do not hew down the tree, for this tree is of my same root. And that tree interpretation meant that they will come to kill him, but because of his wife, she will save him. And so he interpreted it as, you need to say that I am your sister, so that way they don't kill me. So he interpreted it in that manner. And but
interesting.
If you read the Bible and you just read it as it is, you're like, oh, this dude's like a pansy. Look at this fool. Like, what kind of, like, you're like, it's my sister.
Stand up for yourself. What's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. So you think he's like this, you think this man of God is some pathetic little wimp that's like afraid. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
And you're like,
but
if you read it, you realize there's more to this story. you know? And so like when you start reading these other texts and you read other ancient writings, you start to realize there is more than what has been given to us. And all the text is meant to be like studied and understood. You know, it doesn't mean that all the text is good, and doesn't mean that there isn't some corruption in it, but it doesn't mean there isn't some corruption in some of the texts that you're reading right now. For instance, the slave Bible, people don't bring this one up, but guess what? The slave Bible, they took a bunch of text out. Okay. They took about a bunch of verses out of the slave Bible. Do you think the people that read the slave Bible couldn't find Jesus? Like, what makes you think? What makes you think the Holy Spirit didn't speak to them? You know what I mean? Like, what makes you think that the Bible that we're reading today doesn't have things taken out? Now, I don't think that they've added things in personally to the text, but I think they've definitely taken stuff out. And so I think there's a difference.
Quite a bit out. Yeah,
they've taken quite a bit out. And it's like, you know, I think adding stuff in is like different than it's like corruption on another level. But removing stuff is something they've been able to get away with in a lot of ways. And they've removed a lot of things from the biblical text and the biblical understanding. That's why a lot of the stories seem really kind of like, the Bible says a word shall be validated by 2 or 3 witnesses. You know, in the Old Testament, we only have, that's why the New Testament has Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? The Old Testament, we just have Genesis. But there's other accounts. There's Genesis, there's Jasher, there's Jubilees, and there's Enoch. And if you read all those, there's your 2 or 3 witnesses, and it cooperates together and tells you a narrative that's a little bit more clear and concise than just the narrative that you're given in the book of Genesis. And when you read it, it's like, okay, this kind of gives me a better understanding of what's really going on, and it leads you to the understanding of what's going on in the world today. Yes. And that's what I think is super important. So
yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly, and that's what we're trying to do on this podcast as well. Is kind of use that narrative that you just spun there, the whole idea of Nephilim and giants and all that stuff, and go back to the fact that, hey, this isn't like a secular Christianity and a real religious Christianity. We're talking about this God of this world that we live in. He's the same that he's always been. And there isn't this change that's happening. We're just waking up to the fact that he's always been there and he's always been pursuing us. And they've always in return been messing with us in incredible ways.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's a really important part to understand, because so many Christians can't answer questions. That's turning so many people into Muslims. It's turning so many people into other religious sects, because you can't answer the questions, the hard questions, because you don't understand your own word. Well, guess what? They read questions like, oh, when Jesus says, or actually, how about this? There's one like in the book of Jesus hates gays, or God hates the gays. And it's like, you read, oh, the book of Sodom and Gomorrah, God hates gays. Well, guess what? That's not what it's about. No. It says seeking after strange flesh. It doesn't say homosexuality. Okay. So like people are like, oh, God, he's so against gay people and he hates them. He's going to kill them. Well, God says homosexuality is an abomination. Sure. But it doesn't say that specifically in that story. That's not about gay. That's about the hybridization and the perversion of God's genome. Okay. And then you're like, I was talking to a Muslim friend of mine. He's like, oh, well, what is it? Your prophet Lot, they call him a prophet. They're like, Lot supposedly slept with his daughters. And you're like, well, what kind of a prophet of God? I think and they use that as an excuse that the Bible's been perverted, because there's like, if he's a prophet of God, there's no way he's going to sleep with his daughters. And you're like, okay, well, how about you reevaluate the story for what it is? It's not God killing a bunch of gay people. Okay. It's God wiping out the genome of hybridization. Because every time the angels appear to somebody in the Bible, they're always like, are you for me or against me? Oh my gosh, don't hurt me. Except for one time when they appear in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, they say, give us those men so we can have our way with them. And you're like, wait, what kind of response is that? It's like, clearly the people of Sodom and Gomorrah are something different than all the other people that encounter angels. They were trying to make more Nephilim. They're trying to resurrect their Nephilim lineage and hybridization of animals and humans. It wasn't just strange flesh. Doesn't mean they were being gay. It means they were making like hybrid donkey people. Okay. It means they were making animal human genetic hybridization going on. That's why God
see a lot of that stuff in the ancient world. They have these hybridized animals all over the place, and we just kind of scroll over that as like, oh, some dude just made that up. It's art,
Yes, art.
And you have all of this different stuff that we're just like we miss it. There's all of the Greek gods and all of the pantheon of gods, all of these things that are going on throughout our world, and you're just like, how are we not paying attention to this stuff and making these connections?
Yeah. And when you don't recognize those things, you miss so many points, and it makes you have to justify God as a cruel God. And it makes you have to justify that God is like, this malicious, vehement evil person, and it's like you can't even explain to atheisms. Like makes points that you can't explain. Okay, Muslims make points that you can't explain away. If you don't understand Nephilim, you know, and the crazy part about understanding Nephilim, it breaks down people that believe in Mormonism completely falls apart. People that believe in Seventh-day Adventists falls apart. People that believe in any kind of sect of religion, when you bring in the Nephilim, it destroys all of their arguments. It destroys their arguments. They can't even. You're like, whoa, so that's the significance of Jesus? You're like, oh my gosh, like that's why he's here. Like what? Like like genetic, like it destroys any sect views, and it destroys these things into like the true understanding that Jesus brought. That's what it brings into. It brings the true understanding that all of a sudden you can't adhere to a religious viewpoint anymore, because you're like, dude, this is like history and evidence, and there's like stuff about this. And so like once you see it, you're like, okay, whoa, I have to rethink my entire existence. Like, you know, like the Lot statement that like Lot ends up sleeping with his daughters, and you're like, that's such a weird, crazy thing. Well, dude, fire from heaven just fell down. Your mom just turned into a pillar of salt. Everybody that you knew was hybridized animal humans. Yeah. And you're like, dude, this is the only human left on earth, is what they're thinking. You know, it's not like they're like, they were thinking this is the only pure human in the world left. That's what they were thinking when they did this. And so it was like, it wasn't Lot doing it. They got Lot drunk, and Lot's like, dude, my wife just died. My whole existence died. Okay. So they convinced him to get drunk. They did the thing just because they were like, they needed to exist, continue persisting, and having children was a way to preserve your existence and help you. So it was like, okay, well, like, I guess these are the only options we have. Right. And so especially like, that's what they were thinking. Yeah, exactly. And that's what they were thinking. And so it was like, all right, well, everybody just died. You know what I mean? Like it's like they imagine your whole town and everything that you know. You don't have cell phones to call anybody else. You think the whole world just burned up. You know what I mean? Like, and so, but like having this understanding, or like, you know, God goes in and says, tell the people to like all this religious war going on. People like the Jews are like, we're better. Oh, we're better. And all these fighting and stupidity. Like people don't even understand what that originated from. Like people think that the Jews were like talking about how they're so much better. No, it was because they were genetically pure. Like people don't understand that. Like, why did they have the little curly cues on the side of their hair? The Jews, why did they do that? Like, like if you're like, oh, God just decided to do it because God's God and he just likes weird hairstyles. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, it was an identifier. So that way that people were without excuse, that when they would interact with another male or a female, they would know, they would be like, hey, these are identifying markers that I can't have an excuse that, oh, I didn't know that he wasn't human. That he wasn't a pure human. That's why God set some of these rules, to make his people a peculiar people, so that they were set apart, so they would recognize and have no excuse for how to keep their genetic lineage pure. But once Jesus showed up, it didn't matter anymore. Yeah. But like, that's what this stuff was, you know, like it was the purity of the bloodline to the point of Jesus being born. And then after Jesus was being born, forgiveness was brought to everybody. And it was like, it was brought to the whole system just started to crumble apart. But like people, you know, by one man, all sin, everything was lost. And then by one man, Jesus, all of it was redeemed. That's why he said, all authority in heaven and earth has been given unto me. Therefore now go. Right. And he's given that authority unto us to go out and to cast out demons and to heal the sick. And this is a crazy one. People don't know this, but like, I'll talk about this. It's really crazy. But like when Jesus said to the woman, what are you, a dog? You know, like people will be like, oh, Jesus didn't say that. It's terrible. Like that's like an insult. Right. Right. Well, what was she? You know? No. She was a Canaanite. She was a Canaanite. Do you know what the oldest dog in the region is called? A Canaan dog. A Canaan dog. Oh, really? What do you think canine teeth come from? See these things? What do you think that's from? Like people don't think about this stuff, but there is so much more in-depth stuff. And my documentary talks about this, and there's a whole nother part coming out talking about in this more depth. But like Canaanite people were hybridized genetic modifications. That's why when Jesus said, what are you, a dog? She probably had like longer canine teeth and probably had some hair on her face. You can actually see remnants of people that have this disorder today. We call it werewolf syndrome. And they have hair that grows on their face. And you can look at this whole group of people that live somewhere in Mexico that have this disorder, you know, and we call it a disorder. But it's like, these are genetic remnants of a condition that was once Canaanite. This was a Canaanite condition. And so when Jesus said, what are you, a dog? He wasn't being cruel. He wasn't being mean. He wasn't being insulting. He was like literally pointing out that she was hybridized genetics. Okay, you were, and then she said, yeah, but Lord, even the dogs, eat from the table. And he's like, you're right. And that was the prophecy. That was a foreshadowing of the prophecy that forgiveness would be brought to even the dog people, even the genetic people. And you can look up dog people in history and you'll see, like, Christopher Columbus talks about dog-headed people. Sir Francis Drake talks about dog-headed people. Amerigo Vespucci talks about dog-headed people. And you're like, you hear these stories from early explorers and you're like, what are these people talking like crazy, making up stories? Or did these things actually existed? Yeah, because they're written, and you can actually look up early images of Jesus with dog-headed people, and it's fascinating. When you see this stuff in art, you're just like, "Whoa, who was writing this? Who okayed this drawing?" You're like, I don't see dog-headed people around me. Like, but that's because the lineage has been genetically diluted so far to the point where all pretty much we're the fullness of the Gentile age, which the Bible says Jesus won't come back till the fullness of the Gentile age. Well, guess what? Y'all are Gentile now. Y'all got canine teeth. Everybody's got this. You know what Hitler did? He helped bring about the fullness of the Gentile age because he went and killed all the Jewish people that didn't have canine teeth. That's why he was measuring people's teeth. And people don't know this. Like, you've seen those measuring devices?
Yeah.
He was going through measuring their heads. He was measuring their teeth. And he was looking for people that didn't have these, and he'd kill you. He'd sacrifice you because you were pure human. You were pure Jew. And so, like, the Jews had pure blood lineage human in them. And so this is some of the stuff. I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about on your show, by the way.
You can do whatever you want, man. This is a free, this is a free country.
What channels is going on? I mean, because I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
No, you say whatever you want.
I don't know.
I throw it everywhere.
Parts out.
We throw it out, see where it sticks.
Yeah. So this is the thing. Like, when people talk about this stuff, people don't understand what he was actually doing. He was hunting down people that were pure, genetically pure, and he was sacrificing them. The word Holocaust, guess what it means? Do you know? It means a sacrifice. Do you know the irony of us calling it a Holocaust?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? We are admitting that it was indeed a ritual sacrifice.
Yeah.
He was trying to end all the humans, cut them all out. You guess what the highest vaccinated country in the world was with that whole thing they were doing? Israel. Oh, really? Israel.
Why Israel? That.
Yeah, why Israel, huh? Yeah, because there were still a lot of people that were pure human in Israel that didn't have these guys.
Yeah.
They didn't have the canine teeth.
Does that go into the bloodline and the Rh negative and stuff like that? Does that have to do with that?
Oh yeah, it all connects. Absolutely. Like, there's certain things, like, see, I've got a crazier understanding. I don't think, if you look up, humans back in the day didn't have canine teeth. And actually, if you look into old skeletons or old Jewish skulls, you'll see that they lack canine teeth. You're like, what is this? You're like, how did I not know this?
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, when you're looking into this stuff and like you're starting to understand these things, like this perspective, it like starts to shift a lot of your understanding of what's really going on. Yeah. And so, like, it, like the canine teeth, there's studies, they'll say in science, 4.5 billion years ago, we didn't need canine teeth, so they shrank in humans. Like, or how about they were human? How about they were more human? They weren't canonized, and they weren't Gentile blooded. They weren't hybridized. They weren't brought into this lineage. So it's like, this is what these things are. So, like, people don't understand this, but this is what it comes from. And so, like, when you see this, like, this is the fullness of the Gentile age. But guess what? We're in it now, which means we're in the end times, which means we're close to whatever this is. Like, whatever this fullness of the Gentile age is now. Like, they killed off all the people that didn't have canine teeth. They killed off, there's probably zero alive, pure human people alive today. Everybody's got some leftover remnant Nephilim genetic sequencing in your blood today. Everybody's got some little remnant. Your different blood types are connected to it. I think Adam and Eve, they didn't have canine teeth. First off, Adam and Eve probably ate vegetables and were probably vegetarians. Okay. It wasn't until their second generation they started killing animals and eating them. Right. And so that was also an atonement for sin and forgiveness. And I don't know if the canine teeth came about from that right away or if they came on later, but the canine teeth came in as a thing later from that understanding, in my perspective, as the hybridization continued and bled into the society. And then that's why it got down to what we are experiencing in the world today. But basically, that they were originally vegetarian. So like there's parts of our body mechanics, like some people are like, I'm vegetarian and I'm so healthy. And there's some people like, well, I'm a carnivore and I'm so healthy. And there's some people like, I'm this and I'm so healthy. Well, guess what? It probably has something to do with your blood.
Yeah.
It depends on how much hybridization you have in your genetics. There's probably some people that can be vegetarian and be totally healthy. There's probably some people that need the meat substance in their body, you know, and there's like some studies connecting blood types to actual diets. And a lot of that is because of the hybridization that's been that's happened in your gene sequencing, which I know is crazy sounding, but it's really fascinating when you get into studying.
It's really not that crazy when you think about it, because I don't think it is. I mean, you know, if you think about how people are doing what they're doing all the time, you know, we have all of this information about people being taken by aliens, you know, and going and having all kinds of weird things happening to them and stuff like that, and going into these bases and going all over the place and having their wombs taken out and having all kinds of horrific things happening. All of this stuff is obviously leading somewhere, right? What is the point of doing all of this research and doing all of this stuff that Hitler was doing, as you said? What is the point of it all? And I think if you don't have the point or the why, it all looks like just scattered madness, right? It's just like, oh, there's a crazy person here and there's a crazy person here and there's a crazy person here. But when you think about it the way that you're laying out, it does make a lot of sense that there is this hybridization, this DNA manipulation going on, and it's all happening. And when you look at the blood, like you said, and you look at just how people react to food and everything, these are markers. These are markers. This is what we call in science like evidence, right? But nobody's really talking about it that much. That's why we want to talk about it, because this is very important.
Oh yeah. This leads down to like, you know, like Jesus came as a pure human. He had to be a pure human when he came, you know, and there is, you know, and some things, and when he brought the forgiveness, he brought it not just for the pure humans, but for all the hybridized things left over too, which is why he says, go and preach the gospel to every creature. He doesn't say preach the gospel to every man,
person,
to every
human.
Person. Yeah, he says every creature. Guess what that word is? Retranslated into Hebrew, guess what it is? It's nephesh. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's retranslated into Hebrew because it was not originally written in Hebrew, it was written in Greek. But the word creature is nephesh. Sounds a whole lot like Nephilim at the beginning there, doesn't it? And so like people don't understand what he was saying. Like people, when Jesus showed up, there was still nephesh creatures walking around. There was still nephesh existing in the area. That's why Jesus went to the Caesarea Philippi, and he said, on this rock, I will build my mountain. What mountain was Caesarea Philippi? Oh yeah, it was the one where Pan hung out at, the goat god, the half goat man, where we get the word panic from. Like panic comes from Pan, because he would kidnap you. And people don't understand this. The word kidnapping doesn't mean kids are being napped. Kids are doing the napping, just like alien abduction. Are there aliens being abducted? No, aliens are doing the abduction. Kidnapping, kids were doing the napping. Well, who are the kids? The children of the goat. That's who the kids are. Who's the children of the goat? The seed of Satan. Oh yeah. The entities that would show up would kidnap you. They would steal you away, and you would panic because you saw the goat god Pan. Like this is where all this origin stories, like when you start studying words and you start studying ancient linguistics, you're like, oh my gosh, how did I not see this? And it's right there in your face. And there's so much word play and distortion going on that people think it's like, and they're like, oh, well, that's not the actual root because the root says this, blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, but it sounds a whole lot like this, doesn't it? Yeah, that's because it is from that. Because the controllers are the ones telling you where the root came from. But the reality is the word came from some other word that sounded like the same word. That's where it comes from. It doesn't come from some magical, the internet said it comes from here, so that can't be true. No, that's the lie the controllers are trying to feed you. We see the controllers trying to feed us lies all the time. You can just look at the sounds of words and you're like, okay, this sounds eerily similar to this. Like what? That's a very unusual word. Like cigarette and ziggurat. Are you kidding me? What other word sounds like ziggurat? Right. Cigarette. Okay, that's because it's and you look at all the packs of cigarettes and you see pyramids on them. What are pyramids? Ziggurats. All of them. They're ziggurats. What were ziggurats used for? sacrificing humans. But people don't think of that. The people are like, oh, the pyramids in Egypt weren't used for sacrificing humans. Yeah, they were. Why are all the other pyramids we find evidence of sacrificial humans going on? What makes you think the pyramids in Egypt were any different? Are you blind? What do you like? Wake up! Like, it's literally they weren't tombs. We didn't find bodies inside because they were killing people there because it was a sacrificial point.
They find like ramps. They find
where the blood could probably pour down from all the Yeah, that's what those ramps are for. Like when people are just like, oh, they're ziggurats. No, dude, this is what this all is. It's human sacrifice repeated. Satan knows this. Hitler figured it out. He's like, hey, guess what? All these people sacrificed humans. The Babylonians sacrificed humans. The Greeks sacrificed humans. All these people, all these cultures, the Aztecs sacrificed. They all sacrificed humans. They all killed humans. Why? Because they would get sacred knowledge from the gods after they killed and sacrificed humans to them. So what do you think Hitler did? He figured it out. And he was like, hey, if I sacrifice a bunch of humans, maybe I'll get secret knowledge and information. Sure as heck he did. Yeah, because why do you think the gates of Berlin were brought to there? Like, you've seen the Germany gates in Berlin? Yes. Have you seen those things? Yes. Completely occult. They're full of symbolism. They've got the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse on the top of it. They got victory, which is sitting there with their wings. And they've got the Zeus is the eagle. It's the same symbolism, ironically, that we have in the United States. But people don't know that it's the same exact symbolism. It's just converted a little bit different. You look at the George Washington statue; it's the same homage, the same entities are presented there. And so you see all this
Egyptian
stuff,
and all that too. I mean, there's so much symbolism in America; it's crazy,
dude. And it's everywhere, but it's all connected, and people don't recognize the connection. But once you start to see this pattern, you're like, dude, this is all homage to Nephilim, because this is all homage to sacrificing humans to get the gods to show up to get sacred knowledge. Where do you think the Aztecs got their perfect calendar from? Kukulkan. Where? Yeah, they sacrificed a bunch of humans.
Yeah, they did.
Duh. That's what they did. They killed a bunch of people. The gods showed up and said, here you go. We'll give you the perfect calendar.
Yeah.
Who are the gods? The Nephilim. The Nephilim have been here showing up. When you kill a bunch of humans, they show up. When there's a pathway of blood that they can walk on, they'll come. Because other than that, they're afraid. They're afraid to come.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what it is? They're afraid of Jesus. They're so afraid of Jesus. That in the authority that Jesus carried, that you know why? You know how you have to get their attention? You have to pour out pools of blood to know that you are so far away and so lost from the love of Jesus that they feel safe enough to come. That's why you sacrifice. You pour out pools of blood and they show up because they're like, oh, these people they don't have Jesus at all. They have no authority. Yep. Look at them murdering all of God's children. Look at them sacrificing and raping and killing children. Oh yeah, you know what? Look at this. They've done this and they poured out a pool of blood for us to walk across. We'll show up. And then the Nephilim show up.
We'll fit right in.
Yeah, we'll fit right in and we'll tell you what. What do you want to know? What do you want to know? We'll give you information. Sacrifice some more. Maybe kill some more humans. Maybe we'll show up again and give you a little bit
maybe we'll give you your own flying saucer craft.
Yeah, exactly. Like exactly. Which is probably what Hitler did.
I mean, he had one.
Probably so. He probably did, and he probably got that from who do you bet? Who do you want to bet? Showed up and gave it to him. Nephilim.
Let's take a bet. I mean, when you think about like the stuff back in the Bible, in the Old Testament, when the Jews are all about cleanliness, right, and blood and all of those different things, these are like echoes of being pure and unpure. All of those things are very telling to this story. I mean, we're not just talking about wash your hands. I mean, it was, but it was wash your hands because you might have some nasty Nephilim hybrid blood on you or something like that. Like, because you weren't allowed to deal with death, all of those different things. You had to be ritually clean in order to go places and do things. And so I wonder if that, my head's always spinning when we start talking like this. It makes me wonder if that's one of the reasons why they were made to be ritually clean all the time.
It was a foreshadowing, I think, a lot of it. And there's parts, if you read in Leviticus, there's parts that talk about dwarves. Did you know the Bible talks about dwarves? Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah, it says dwarves are not allowed to go before the throne room of God. That's weird. You know what else it says? It says people with cleft lips. You're like, wait, why cleft lips? Why cleft lips and dwarves? Wait, and hunchbacks? And you're like, wait a second. what is this? What is this?
Yeah.
This is so cruel. Hunchbacks and cleft-lip people and dwarves can't go before the throne of God. Why? Because every genetic disorder that you see in the world today was brought on by Nephilim hybridization into our genome. Every one of them. God didn't make us to have these imperfections. These imperfections were brought on from there's two types of mutation that exist. Okay. There's polydactylism or doubling or whatever you want to call it, where you see doubling of things, 2 rows of teeth, 6 fingers, 6 toes, 4 sets of arms. That's from inbreeding. That's an inbreeding defect. So when brothers and sisters or mothers and son, this type of inbreeding happens, you will get doubling genetics, because what happens is the genome says, like, I'm writing a hand for another finger, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, but it makes the finger, and then it goes, wait, but there's still code that says we need a finger here, so make another one. And so it makes another one. You'll get the 6 finger thing, because the genome is like confused. It's like, okay, we already have it, but there's code saying we need it still. And so it does it. And so that comes because of the matching genome sequence of brother and sister.
Because they're too similar.
Yeah, they're too similar. And so you get 2 rows of teeth. You'll get doubling of genetics. You'll get like weird, just sort of like genetic, basically like mirroring and doubling and deformities in that sense. Okay. There's another type of genetics disease that happens, totally different. The other type of genetics that happens, it has to do with literally the genome being completely corrupted, which comes from Nephilim hybridization or animal integration genetic sequencing. And so that's like elephantiasis, where you get an explosion of DNA, like an explosion of genome. And you see people with the giant hands, and you're like, what is that? That's Nephilim. That's Nephilim trying to express itself through the genome. Like you get like body parts where like certain parts of their heart gets enlarged, or that's Nephilim sequencing genome. That is not normal genetic defects. That doesn't come about from inbreeding. That spontaneously occurs from past genetic markers being evoked in or whatever. And so these situations come about from hybridization, or you get people with hair all over their face. Okay. That's an animalistic hybrid genetic disorder. Or you get people that have like, weird genetic diseases where their hands look like roots. Have you seen that one where the dude has like roots for fingers? It looks like, it's supposedly warts, guys. Warts. That doesn't have anything to do with the tree people that the angels or that the nymphs created, where they hybridized plants with humans. No, that's not what that has to do with. Those are warts, guys. Those are warts. Okay. But the reality is, it's very obvious when you see these genetic deformities, and they're coming about from different forms of genetic hybridization and marking. Okay. And that's why some of the giants had 6 fingers as well. Guess why?
Right.
Because they were trying to mate with their brothers and sisters to keep their gigantism alive to create the hybridization. So you see a lot of the 6 finger giant people as well. But that 6 finger came from inbreeding, not from them being, whatever, genetically different. It came from the inbreeding. So you see the 2 rows of teeth and all these kind of things. But this comes from inbreeding and from hybridization of angel genetic sequencing in animals. So it's in all the stuff in the world today. You see the marker in the leftover remnants of this. It's everywhere.
It really is. And Jesus coming and doing what he did was such a bold statement to all of them. I mean, that's why he went to Mount Hermon and stood up and said, the gates of hell will not rise against me. Like, this isn't going to happen. You're not going to prevail. We're going to fix this. And they had no idea what was coming. It's one of those moments that when you finally figure it out, what it really means, what it's really all about, it blows your mind. And it becomes more of a sacrifice, really. I mean, not like his sacrifice wasn't enough in the first place, but it becomes even more like he's rescuing us regardless of what they did to us or what kind of, and I think this kind of translates into today, what kind of crap have we been talked into in our lives? We watch this magical box on the TV and we get talked into doing things, and we get brainwashed and MK Ultra and all these different things. And I think the good thing about Jesus' sacrifice, as it's explained this way, is that there is nothing that's off limits to him. Like, he wants just you to come. He doesn't matter if you're pure. He doesn't matter if whatever. He just wants you to come. That's it. He just wants to have a relationship with you and for you to be
clean
fixed.
you up as you go.
Yes. Yeah, it's very important. I think people get really caught up in that, where they're just like, I just need to wait until I'm better, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not, I'm not the right religion or whatever. Like, none of that matters. None of that matters to him.
And some of the people don't even understand this. Like, you're not just, and some people like to think like, oh, I'm a good person, I don't really need Jesus. Dude, you're Nephilim.
Right.
You got Nephilim genome in you. Okay, you got canine teeth, you're not a good person. You're genetically imperfect. So you need Jesus. Okay? Like regardless of whether you think you're a good person or not, genetically, we've been modified and we're imperfect. And like people are just like, people are all worried about like, oh, the Nephilim are going to show up, whatever, like in the mall. Oh no, the Nephilim are in the mall in Miami, Florida. Oh my gosh. Like, dude, I mean, like, Nephilim aren't going to show up in the mall. Why? Because they're still afraid of you. They're so afraid. When the early Christians went out, Jesus said, go, because he brought authority. You know why the demons, when Jesus walked in the room, they said, Lord, are you here to torture us before our time? They knew that they were going to get tortured. They knew that they were going to get destroyed. And I don't know if you know the native story about the in Peru that built Machu Picchu. Guess who built Machu Picchu, according to the natives? A race of giant, homosexual, deformed, cannibalistic people, okay? Giants. They were deformed homosexual giants that would eat people. They built Machu Picchu. And guess what? A star shone real bright one day, and they all went into the mountains and disappeared and committed suicide and killed themselves. Yeah. Okay, guess what that star was? You want to bet that was the star of Bethlehem? Oh, yeah, because they knew the scripture and they knew that Jesus said, your son will come to crush our head, and we'll bruise his heel, right? And so he was just like, whoa, okay, he's going to come and crush our head. Oh my gosh, that's Jesus coming to crush our head. And they went and killed themselves. That's where all the Nephilim went. And then the rest of them went into hiding. And they're all afraid of you because they're afraid of the authority that Jesus brought. They knew Jesus brought that authority. That's why the demons were all like, don't hurt us, help, please help. And this is the same authority that we carry. This is why I cast out demons. This is what I do. And I heal people and set things free. And I say, get out of them. Go, leave in the name of Jesus. Go. And like when you speak this, the authority that we carry as a Christian is so powerful. It's so powerful, but people don't recognize the authority. So Jesus brought back the Adamic authority that you were supposed to have. You were supposed to have it. Do you know that Adam could have walked on water? Think about that. He had dominion over the earth. Dominion. Adam could have walked on water if he wanted. He just could have walked out there. Adam could have walked up to any tree and said, tree, give me your fruit. Bloop, and it would have just given the fruit. He could have walked up to any tree and bloop, bloop, there it was. People don't think of it that way. People try to think of Adam as like a very physical world. Like Adam had dominion. Yeah. Okay. Adam did everything Jesus did. Jesus walked on water. What do you want to bet Adam walked out on water? Like Jesus.
Oh yeah, he could do it all.
Yeah. And so Jesus came and restored the Adamic authority you were supposed to have without sin. But you got to stop sinning.
Yeah.
And he forgave you of the sin, and then you have to stop sinning. And when you stop sinning, there's an authority that comes with you stop sinning. Okay, Jesus didn't heal people and go, hey, I'm going to heal you. And, he heals somebody and he goes, go and sin no more. And I tell people this, you might hear this one in church, go and sin no more. They don't read you the rest of the verse. Right. It says, go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you. That's what it says. What's that imply? That implies sin allows sickness and worse things in your life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus said, go and sin no more, but don't worry. I know you're going to sin but I'm going to die on the cross here in a bit, and I'm going to forgive you for all of it. So don't worry about it. It's okay. You're forgiven. Go and sin. Go and try not to sin no more.
Do your best.
Go and do your best no more. It's just like what do you think he said? He said, sin no more, period.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Or a worse thing will come upon you. You want to know why so many Christians, they don't even believe in the power of God? This is crazy part. I hope we're shifting into another realm here of understanding. But like, here's the thing: so many Christians don't get healed in church, and it's so sad. And every time I have to pray for a Christian, I'm like, oh, like Lord, give me some understanding for this person, because like they already know you and they're sick and they got a disease, and I'm like, so clearly they're missing something. God, what are they missing? You got to tell me. And so like the thing is, like, this is why Christians don't get healed, because they don't understand, and they don't really know, and they don't really receive. And God's not going to heal you because you're going to have wrong thinking, and it's going to solidify your wrong thinking. Why would God heal you and keep that wrong thinking in you?
Yeah,
like, why would
that's true.
That's just going to solidify your wrong view of God. You think God's some cruel guy, probably still. And so like people are like, oh, this is my cup, Lord. Oh, this is my cup. No, your cup is to heal people. He said, go out and heal people. That's your cup, not to just deal with your sickness. And so, like, so many Christians don't get healed because they've got wrong thinking and they don't understand. And so the Bible says you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. Yes. Okay. The truth is what sets us free. How do you know the truth? You read the Bible, you read the word, you study in the word. Jesus says, if you abide in my word, you are my disciples, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free.
Yes.
So you know the truth and you should be set free. But this is like the authority we have been given. You've been given back your Adamic authority, but you got to stop sinning in order to have that in your hand. And if you stop sinning and you hold that in your hand, guess what? You have an authority to cast out demons from yourself and from other people. You can heal people. And the Nephilim are terrified of people like that. And the early Christians, they went around doing that. They went around casting out the demons. Okay, they went around casting them out and casting them into the fields and saying, get out of here. And it says the 72 returned, it says in the Bible, the 72 returned and said, Lord, Lord, even the Daemon obey us. Okay, that's what it says. Lord, Lord, even the Daemon obey us. That means the demons listened to the 72. What are the demons? Because there's foul spirits, there's evil spirits, and then there's demons.
Yep.
Those are two different things. They didn't go casting out evil. Lord, Lord, even the evil spirits obey us. They said, Lord, Lord, even the demons obey us. That's what he said.
Okay, so what is the difference?
The demons are physical-bodied entities.
Okay.
Evil spirits are their deceased spirits that do the will. There's Daemon and there's Daemonian. There's Daemon is the physical-bodied, and the Daemonian are the will of the physical-bodied things. Okay. And so the Daemon, or vice versa, I might have gotten those backwards, but this is what it is. They're literally, there's physical bodied demons, and we combine the word and say it the same thing in the Bible today, but it's two different words. It's two different words in the Greek for a reason. Yeah. And so it's because there was and then there's evil spirits. So there's Daemon, Daemonian, evil spirits, foul spirits. There's multiple different things. There's ghosts. They actually mentioned ghosts. When Jesus is walking on the water, it says they thought he was a ghost.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's a ghost? Ghost is something different, isn't it? So it's not a daemon. Ghost is a physical embodiment of something invisible. So a daemon is invisible. A daemonian is a physical body thing, like a creature. Okay. That's not fully human. It's a demon.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's multiple different things. Say what?
I said it might look real weird, like like a gray alien or something weird like that.
Exactly.
I mean,
you want to know what aliens are? I can tell you what aliens are. That's pretty crazy.
I do want to know.
You want to? Okay, so aliens are Nephilim. This is an explanation for people that want to know what aliens actually are, because everybody's heard aliens are Nephilim. I'm going to give you a deeper understanding of how a Nephilim alien exists, because scientifically, and you can watch this in my documentary Ancient Angels. I kind of explain this a little bit, but but literally, what it is when you genetically hybridize a human with anything else, it will form a creature in the zygote stage. It will create a creature. It will grow with its little heart beating and everything up to a point of birth, or just like a point of where it's starting to get really viable. And then the creature just dies, and we don't know why it dies. It just dies. And science can't explain it. And we've been trying to answer the question forever. Oh, we know why it dies, but they're not going to tell you why it dies, because what they're doing is they're trying to prepare the world that this isn't a thing that can happen. They want people to know that, you can't do this kind of thing. And so what they're going to do is they're waiting for this moment where they are going to introduce the hybridization of human genomes. But what aliens are when you take a dolphin, you take some genetics from a dolphin, some genetics from a lizard, some genetics from some other creature, monkey, whatever you want to do, and you hybridize it. And you inject it into the human, you have this human hybrid genetic celled creature. It's going to form a creature, and it's going to grow. It's going to grow up to the point of birth, and right before it gives birth or hatches or whatever, it's going to die. Well, then you just take that dead fetus, and you draw some pentagrams on the ground, you draw some little conjuring circles, and you evoke a demonic spirit into that dead creature, and it will live. This is what aliens are. Aliens are human, genetic, animal hybridized beings with evoked spirits into them. And so demonic spirits have been evoked into these creatures. This is what an alien is. It's not some
not from outer space.
Thing. It's not from outer space. It's not some mythical thing. It's a Nephilim of sorts, but it's literally a demon it's basically a human that's been genetically altered to the point where God's not going to put a soul in it. God looks at this creature and he goes, well, it's not a human. It's not a dolphin. I'm not going to put a soul in it. So the soul, so it's going to grow genetically, but then it's just going to die. And that point of death, they just interject their own spirit into it. And that's why these things can't talk fully, because and if you look into the history of these creatures that are Nephilim, they don't speak properly when you hybridize them. And that's why the aliens talk with their mind, and they do all these other little things. They're trying to complete the perfect genome sequence to bring back Nephilim sequencing. And that's what all that whole, what is that, 23andMe stuff has been about. They're looking for people that had remnant genetics Nephilim. If it said Neanderthal on your little tagline, what do you want to bet? You had a weird dream. If you had a high percentage of that, you probably had a real weird dream right after you did that test. You probably had a real weird dream.
You woke up with your pants on backwards.
Yeah. You probably, because they probably came and took some of your genetic sequencing to like hybridize and recreate whatever they were trying to create with genetic sequence. That's why they wanted to know it. And they've done it. And so like basically they've created what is the thing that they shot everybody with. That was the last sort of Nephilim-esque hybridization, I believe, sequence to genetically hybridize you. So if anybody had anything that was not Nephilimized or not genetically altered, now everybody does. Like if you didn't have it, they forced it on you. And so now the whole world has been Nephilimized. Okay. The whole world is got it in it. And everybody's like, oh, the Nephilim are going to show up. The real big Nephilims are afraid of you. First off, so they're not going to be showing up in no malls. You got to pour out some blood for them in order for them to show up.
Maybe if you murdered a bunch of people first.
If you murdered a bunch of people.
Maybe put a pentagram on the ground. Then you might have had some.
Well, they did murder a bunch of people with the jab. They murdered a ton of people, and a bunch of people ended up with hypertrophy, enlarged hearts, all kinds of stuff.
Well, the owners of those things, like just like cigarettes, like the owners of the cigarette companies take their murdered people and they make offerings and they say, look at all the people we've murdered. Give us what we want. And they can just, kill one more person, throw it on top of the thing, draw their little pool of blood, conjure the demon, and the demon will probably show up and be like, yeah, we see how many people you've murdered with your offerings.
Good job.
Good job. Yeah. What do you want? We'll give you what you want.
Yeah.
And so like, that's how it works. Like people do these type of rituals, and so Fauci over there, part of the jab is probably doing occult rituals. He's like all part of the cabal. He's a part of all this stuff. And he's probably drawing pentagrams on the ground. Look how many people I've murdered in your name. Look, look at how many people give me what you want.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, we're talking presidents, we're talking music industry, we're talking, foreign leaders, we're talking.
They're all a part of
all of them. I mean, they have to get to that level somehow. And you ever wonder why these people have just like crazy musical abilities? They're just like, I mean, I've seen some people that are like really good at music, but some of these people have like crazy music abilities. And then you've got these others that are like garbage. They don't sound good
and
on
they still
stage,
get famous.
And they still get famous. And you're wondering like, how did this happen? But you
see people like Eminem and you're like, that is so superhuman. You're like, what? Like his ability to do that with the words is like beyond Chat GPT, I think.
Which AI, you were talking about six fingers earlier, and I was thinking about how AI actually keeps replicating people with six fingers, which I thought was really interesting.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, I made a video on that a while ago. It was pretty funny. It kind of like blew up all over the place.
Talking
that's
about awesome.
The connection between
I didn't even know that.
And six finger. Yeah. And the AI and six finger thing is pretty fascinating. AI is a tool, I think. And I think all technology, it's weird because it just like suddenly populated and like, boom, it's in everything now. Right? It's like just everywhere. Right. It's just weird how fast and how rapidly it's progressed and populated into everything. Like there is some component to it that is unreal. And I know the father of AI, I forget his name, but you can Google father of AI, was actually friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Isn't that
interesting?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Yeah, there's photos of him and Jeffrey Epstein together. The father of AI, Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? And so when you type that in, you're like, this is really strange, isn't it? But like these things are tools. And like the Bible actually talks about, well, not the Bible, rather the book of Enoch or the book of Jubilees. One of them mentions that that man will not be held accountable for the mysteries taught to them by the fallen angels. angels. Okay, so it says that like we're not going to be held accountable for the mysteries. So the technology, which originally was metal, by the way, so everything metal was fallen angel tech. Like, so I just imagine you lived in a world where all you had was like obsidian spears and sticks, you know, and like flint, and then some dude shows up with a metal sword. You're like, what is that? Like, you know what I mean? He's like, here, watch this. You've been over there chopping a tree with an obsidian, and he's just like, whack. You know, you're just like, shiny. You're like, what is that shiny thing? You're like, what is that? And that was the tech that we were given. That's what they traded the women for. That's what they took the sword. They give it. Yeah, take the women. We'll give us the shiny sword. Give us the axe.
You can have my wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me the sword.
Give me the sword. Give me the shiny thing. So, like, to them, like, I mean, a sword is magical. Like, think about it. Like, we try to think of making a sword like the sword in the stone, trying to make it any more magical than it is. Like, dude, if you lived in a forest, the sword itself is like magical itself. It's like shiny and metal and glows and sparkles. That's why we put sparkly things on everything that we say that's magic. Really, it's just metal. It's really like that's what.
That's what glitter is. It's just little pieces of
metal flake. Yeah, and so it's just like, you know, that's what is magic. It was the metal that was brought to us by the fallen angels. They taught us metallurgy. Like, think about the concept of how someone would come up with the concept of creating metal in the first place. Like, who in their right mind would be like, let's make a fire hot. Let's make it really, really hot. And then let's throw some of this rock that looks kind of reddish in the middle of this fire and then make it even hotter. Like, you know what I mean? Like nobody's sitting there trying to like blow wind on a fire to try to make it hotter. And like, it's improbable. It's so improbable of how we would come up with a concept of metal that it's very clearly that it was given to us. We were given this understanding. And so like that was given to us by the fallen angels. It was tech brought to us by them, given to us so that way we could take that and technology and we utilize it for whatever we want. And that's progressed over and over throughout history. The microchip, guess what? It's metal and clay. Like, where do you think that came from? Yeah. Like, the microchip was probably given to us by fallen angels. Why do you think the first Apple computer was sold for $666? Why do you think it's an Apple with a bite taken out of it? What do you think that represents? Okay. Like, what do you, like, all of this stuff, they're paying homage to the fallen angel, Nephilim, hybrid things that they were worshiping. Yeah.
I saw a thing that says the inside of a computer, like the motherboard or whatever, looks like a scrying mirror. Well, if you really look at them.
I mean, I suppose, yeah, I suppose it could to some degree. In fact, your phone is a black mirror. You seen that show, Black Mirror?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what your phone is. People don't know what a black mirror is. People are like, oh, it's a television show. No, it's not. It's your phone. The black mirror was an occult practice where they'd take a glass obsidian, they'd pour it with water, and they would look into it like a scrying thing. They would look into it and they would try to see things about people's lives. They would spy on you. And they would say, demon, show me so-and-so's life. And they would look into the thing and the demon would show them images. They're like, how's that any different from you right now pulling up Facebook and going, show me this person's life. Let me look at their thing. Like, that's literally
exactly it.
Yeah, you're participating in modernized occultism that's been commercialized into witchcraft magic. I mean, it's a floating device in your hand. Like, this thing is just in my hand. This thing. Yeah.
It's never more than a couple feet away from anybody.
Dude, it's so real, but people just think of it as like a joke. And it's like, dude, you're like, oh, come on. Like, no, that is witchcraft. Like, you just don't recognize it. It's bending something to your will. It's like, we've made scrying and we've made observing and witchcraft occultism normalized in our society because we've turned Facebook into like the normal way. We can spy on people's lives. That's what witches did. You would spy on people's lives, try to get information, try to figure things out. Like, that's really what occultism is. And they used to astral project all the time, but now it's like you got Facebook. They don't even need to astral project. Like, it's like
true.
I can look you up on Google Earth right now.
Say what?
I said I can look you up on Google Earth right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like dude, I don't think they need to even astral project anymore, which is still a thing and people still do it. I know about it and I deal with all this kind of stuff, but like, realistically, just type your name in Facebook and find all your information. Like, they don't. So, like, that's what the occult did. They would spy on people, take secret information, blackmail you, and hold things above your head. And this is how they got into power and authority and got into positions of authority well above other people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
so they get you to do whatever they want because they have everything on you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why the Mossad sent Epstein to. Ooh, I don't want to know. I don't know if I want to go that direction. We're running out of time here. I want to ask you one more thing. Why do you think why do you think that this tech or this metallurgy, those type of things, were hidden from humans in the first place? Because I've heard a lot of people talk about this. Why would God hold those things back from us? And I have my opinions. I'm just curious on yours.
I think the Bible says God has mysteries, right? And so it says there's a lot of mysteries. Okay, so there's more mysteries than we even know, right? And so there's tons more mysteries on how we can build flying spaceships, and nuclear power and all kinds of different stuff. And like the Lord just was full of mysteries. And it says it's the Lord's what is it? The Lord's joy to hide mysteries. It's the whatever a man to seek it out. So I forget what it is. Like the glory of man to seek out the mysteries of God. That's what it is. Right. And so it's our glory to seek out the mysteries of God. God made so many mysteries because he wanted to reveal them to us. He wanted to be the one that said, hey, I have a present for you. You think life's cool now? Check this out. I'm going to give you metal. Boom. I'm going to reveal it to you. I'm going to give you this. Boom. I'm going to reveal it to you. The angels just hybridized and hijacked and like just cheated and like said, no, we'll give it to him before God does. That's basically what I think it was. In a lot of ways, I think God, and then I think there's some things that maybe the Lord said, I didn't want for this to be given to the world, and it says we wouldn't be held accountable for the mysteries that were revealed to us by the angels. So I don't think there was like a reason particularly, but I think God maybe just wanted to be able to give us something cool and share something unique with us. That's my theory, at least. But I don't know. What do you think?
That makes sense.
I usually kind of lean the same way, where I think, the whole tree of knowledge of good and evil was the reason he didn't want us to touch it was because he wanted us to learn those things. He wanted us to learn those things over time. He wanted us to experience and gain wisdom and learn how to trust him, right, and everything. And I think the problem with that was we were just like, nah, and took the apple, and we just want it right now. And I think there's a lot of that in our society. I think it's been built that way, where everything's like right now. I want it right now. And even this podcast, like you went over so much information, but you got that by sitting down and reading these things and going through it. And you wouldn't have gotten there without the journey that you've been on. People might be like, wow, this guy waxes poetic and he has all this information. It's like, no, it was a struggle. It was time. I mean, I'm sure there was many times that you're just like, I just don't want to read anymore. I just don't want to read. I didn't even want to read the full Bible. Now I'm reading Jasher and Jubilees and all these things. I think people need to realize that God wants us to take time to learn about him and to learn about the mysteries, as you were saying, and we don't need to just take the apple from the tree, because he said, don't do that. I want you to learn it along the way. And so that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. I think there's so much to God's mysteries that he wanted to reveal to us. And I think it's sad, but I think at the same time, it's like, God looks down to us. He wants to be your friend. Like ultimately God wants to be your friend. And
he wants to be in relationship with us.
Yeah.
Like he wants a family.
But like, family. Like he wants to be, like he calls Abraham friend of God. Friend, guys. Yeah. Friend. Like to think about this, like God is my friend. like how cool is that? Like, you know what I mean? Like you think about it, like I'm God's friend. Like this is cool. Like this is cool. He tells me things. He shows me things. He reveals things to me. I pray and like I hear things and I'm always like, Lord, why did they do that? And then like I wait and I'm like, and then like I listen real carefully and I pray and then I'll get an answer and I'll be like, hey, really? Is that why? Oh my gosh. And he'll be like, check this out. like I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Like that's so cool. And then and he like shares this with me. But the interesting part, the more you know God, it's funny because the more he begins to tell you, the more you're not supposed to say in a lot of ways. It's kind of comical because it's like God knows everything, but he doesn't say a whole lot, right? And it's because he wants us to figure it out, And so like God isn't the more you blab your mouth a lot of times, the more God doesn't want to tell you things. A lot I've noticed. And so I'm always like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I won't say anything.
I won't tell anybody.
I'm not going to tell anybody this time. I promise.
Yeah. And so like, I have to like sit there. There's like so many other things I want to like talk about. And the Lord's just like, nope, not yet. You can't talk about it yet. You can't tell people yet. And I'm like, oh man, I really want to say this. I really want to say it. He's like, nope.
But that's so cool because you wouldn't know that if you weren't in relationship with him. Like those are things that you wouldn't know. You would just be like, oh my gosh, I got this revelation. I got to tell everybody. But if you're truly in relationship with God, then you would know now is not the time. Wait.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
So
God's
good.
revealing so much right now, and he's like giving me the
Mhm.
green light on so many things. He's like, talk about it, talk about it. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? He's like, talk
Yeah.
about it, talk about it. It's like, now's
It's go
the
time.
I'm like, sweet. I'm like, this is awesome. And so like the time right now, something is happening.
Yeah.
Something has
Mhm.
changed. Something is shifting. I don't know what it is,
I
but
agree.
God is calling forth his generals right now. And God is like organizing things because I don't know. He's getting people back to the state of so long the church told you, you can sin, you're forgiven. You can sin, you're forgiven. You can sin. And it's led us to this whole perverted, distorted image of whatever, dude, you can sin. Maybe you're forgiven. Maybe God forgive you. Maybe you go to heaven. I don't really know. But I'll tell you what, if you sin, demons aren't going to respect you. They're not going to listen to you. You ain't going to cast out demons. They're going
Right.
to laugh at you and mock you to your face. You're going to walk in the authority of God. You're not going to heal nobody. And guess what? You're going to walk around just like the Bible said. In the end times, people have a form of godliness, but what? Deny the power.
Yep.
That's what we're living in right now. A form of godliness, but deny the power. I tell people I've healed somebody, I prayed somebody, I put my hands on somebody's back and watch the bones in their body shift. Okay, I've seen stuff that I don't even like talk about on my channel because if I talk about it, they'd be like, dude, this guy's nuts, bro. The stuff I've seen and experienced, like I can't even begin to share the testimonies of what I've seen and witnessed. And like the reality is like that is so powerful. It is so powerful. But guess what? This world is so dead and the church is so dead because they have a form of godliness, but they deny the power. And so even when they hear about, oh yeah, that one guy, Brian, like this dude, he healed that one lady and healed that one guy of a brain tumor and blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, here's the photo. Here's the scans. People are just like, It's like,
okay.
It's okay. It's a form of godliness, deny the power for sure. That's what we're walking in right now.
Yeah,
And it
I
is
think
sad.
so too.
Yeah,
It's so
really
sad.
But this is a time when people like you and Rick, I think, is called in a lot of the same way. This is where people need you.
Yeah, God's raising up his people right now, and he's like, dude, go and do it. Go and cast out the demons. Go and heal people. Go and raise people from the dead. I can't wait till I get to raise somebody from the dead. I'm so excited for that. Like, I know I'm going to have it because I've had that dream already. So I'm like, all right, like if somebody's dying around me, you are not dying. I'm straight going to be praying. They're going to drag me to the hospital while I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like totally about it. Like, I'm like, and I already told all my friends, I'm like, hey, if I die ever, pray me back to life. And like my friends,
there you go.
I'm like, I don't care what happens. If I ever die, you sit by me until I come back to life and you pray. Okay, because I will come back.
And you better
like,
mean it. I mean, could you mean it too?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They've already got the go ahead. So like their faith is already active. It's like, hey, he said if he dies, pray him back to life. So like they've got all the faith they need. So, boom, I'm all for it.
As long as you're not just following around ambulances like, I'm good, dude, I'm here. Just pull over.
So yeah,
this has been a good time, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know that your time is valuable, and we really appreciate it. But
it was fun.
I hope that maybe we can connect again one of these days. But tell everybody where they can find you. I know you're on TikTok. I know you're on Instagram. You're lots of places.
TikTok and Instagram, it's all Demon Erasers with the S. So Demon Erasers. And YouTube as well. It's Demon Erasers, I believe, as well. I got to get on other platforms. I'm setting all that stuff up right now still. So, but it's all going to be Demon Erasers. Unless somebody tries to steal my tag or something. But
I like it.
Erasers.
It's perfect.
So yeah, you can find, and demonerasers.com. You can go there. I do prayer stuff every Saturday. I pray for people. They sign up and we do deliverance and do cast demons out of people through the phone, through the computer. And man, dude, the stuff that we've seen through that is like, it's like nuts. The kind of things I've witnessed through that. And like people get healed and all kinds of stuff. And so that's at demonerasers.com. We pray for people if you want to learn stuff. Also ancientangels.com if you want to learn about the Nephilim. You want to learn about Nephilim.
And your documentaries on there. Yeah.
Ancientangels.com. I made that documentary with JT and then I filmed it and did all the editing and stuff. It's all up there and it's like 2-part series. We might be adding another part to it. I'm not sure yet, but I have another thing coming out, another documentary coming out. And that'll be pretty cool. And I might be putting that on Amazon Prime. I just got approved for that. So we'll see, but for now, ancientangels.com, go to ancientangels.com and support me, buy the documentary. It'll be great.
There you go.
Yeah, support him. He's doing great work, Brian. We really appreciate you coming on, and we're just looking forward to what you got coming next, man. Be easy out there. Have a good time, man. Keep loving the Lord and slaying them demons. And
awesome,
man. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Thanks for having me on,
Thank
you guys.
you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Talk
You're
to you all
welcome.
soon.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. All right. Bye.
Bye.